This is Rob, and I am back with episode number 353. I totally botched that intro, but we're already live, so I have to do it like this. So we're all about overcoming obstacles. We're about defying the odds and helping you clear whatever's blocking the path to whatever success you want in this lifetime. And if you are new to the show, you have no clue who I am or why you should listen to me or any guest that I bring on. Here's, what is that? 1 minute and 19 seconds worth of who I am. I started doing workshops and doing groups where I'm getting up in front of others, like outside of the gym setting, and talking about resilience and perseverance and goal setting and vision and taking action.
You should know what 1 hour of your time is worth. You should know the value that you bring to the marketplace. You know what your passion is.
Starts with clarity of vision. If you don't have the clarity of vision, whatever next thing you get, you're not going to see it through because you don't have the clarity of vision. So the point of my pain was being told you will never run or jump again. And all that stuff, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be able to take this even bigger.
If you know why you do what you do, you have to know how to charge for what you do. That's how you're going to change your life, and that's how you're going to leave a legacy for your children and your family. You got to know your worth.
All right, before I bring my guest on, when the new book is out, I redesigned the cover. People asking me all the time, like, how do you do this? How do you do that when it comes to overcoming obstacles, building resilience, and building confidence? So I wrote a book on it. So there's 15 chapters, but there's 13 worksheets built into the book. So this book isn't about just me and my life story. It's a literal how-to guide. If you're going through something and you're stuck, you don't know how to talk about it, you don't know how to heal from it, or if you want to learn to speak on podcasts, do a blog, maybe even get featured in the media. This is, like I said, this is a beginning A to Z guide on how to make that happen. And anyone that buys the book, you'll get 15 podcast connections from me. And that in itself could be priceless. So mine included, plus 14 others. So, and it's only $20. Like I could have turned this into a masterclass and charged $10,000, but I want anyone that's struggling to be able to get to the other side of that struggle. So speaking of struggle, my guest today, we're going to talk about grit, growth, and recovery with Gabe. So now, who is Gabe? After battling a serious arm infection that required multiple surgeries and extensive rehab, Gabe regained full mobility and channeled that same grit into growing obstacle wonderland. So let's welcome Gabe to the show. How we doing, sir?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on. We meet again.
Absolutely. We meet again. Yes. So I had the pleasure of meeting Gabe in person at the OCR Expo. So before we dive into your backstory, what were your thoughts on this year's Expo?
Well, I don't know if you know, but that was my first time there. And
okay.
That was the first time. So last year, my event runs like right next to yours. So last year, it just kind of caught me off guard. But this year, Steve and we talk often, and I just wanted to make sure I made it up there. But I got to tell you, it was great. I'm like blown away at how much the reach you guys have and how effective that was for us. But then again, you can't. How can you miss a guy in a pepper suit like all day, jumping on rubber chicken? So, people remember that. But it was a great time. Like I was totally impressed, and I thought it was great. I can't wait to go back next year.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was a genius idea with the chickens. Because I'll be honest with you, when I first saw it, I was like, "What the hell are they doing?" but then I saw the engagement. I was like, that was brilliant. Because it brought attention to you. So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about you. So, at your core, how would you describe yourself?
What's weird is like no one's ever asked me a question like that. It's just it's strange, it's like, even when you said that to me, it's just like, I don't even know. I don't even, it's like, it's like there's, for, at least for me, I'm right now, I'm going through like so many different things that, can we use the word resilient, cliche? I'm sure there's a better word for all this.
Let me use myself as an example, right? So whenever I get asked that, I always say competitor. If you take away the hats, like I can say I'm an author, I can say I'm a podcast host, I coach track and field, I manage a gym. Those are all things that I do, right? I tackle everyday life through the lens of a competitor. So I don't know if that helps you piece it together a little better.
Well, I've always been known to make chicken soup out of chicken poop. And I guess it's, I've always had a thing about thinking outside the box. And I have to say, this whole obstacle course is really thinking outside the box. And really, when I did get into my accident, it was really required to think. So I would say it really is my ability to kind of think outside the box and not be in a box and we can't figure this out. There's got to be a way to figure this out. There's got to be a way to figure this out. And, based on this whole resilience is like, I think that's the key is like, you just got to figure it out. Like anything, like if, you just got to figure it out and you got to just kind of grind through it. Like you just have to figure it out. Like you just have to.
Yes, I agree. So I'm hearing that you're a visionary.
I don't know. Well, these are so I would say, I guess you can call it that, but I would just call it just kind of figuring it out, just kind of keep going with it because, it's almost like when you just start something, it just perpetuates and if you can kind of grab a hold of that, keep going, whether it's our kids program, but a lot of times you can't do it visionary. Sometimes it's a matter of just putting your ego in your back pocket that makes you successful or just kind of moves you forward. I mean, I dressed up in a chicken suit, it's like, but I'm okay with that because it's like, I'm here not only for Obstacle Wonderland, but I'm here for Steve. I'm here for you because I want, we're coming to a place, that people are coming to. We want to make it fun and I am who I am. I'm just an average person. I'm not going to get down and do 10 burpees because I'd probably pass out. But, I'll bring some 3D stuff and hand it out to kids and get them engaged. So I guess in visionary is just kind of just adapting to whatever's there and really putting just your ego in your back pocket, which I think for me is probably the best thing. And just, when you're humble, when you stay humble and you just keep that ego in check, you really can get a lot further because it just keeps your mind open a little bit more. Because instead of being worried about everything else, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to put a pepper suit on and we're going to do this. And I love 3D printing and we're going to give out this stuff. And it really makes a difference. The same thing here. I own part of the thing what we're going to talk about is I own my own business and I fix boat propellers for a living. And, boy, you want to talk about thinking outside the box and doing things, this is hard work. This is super hard work. And, but it's 23 years I've been doing this now. And this is what, I don't know if you ever seen my Obstacle Wonderland logo, but if you look at the logo, there's 2 boat propellers and those 2 boat propellers represent here because if it wasn't for this, that wouldn't be there because it kind of ties itself together. So
absolutely.
I don't I got to tell you, I don't think anybody's ever asked me those questions before. And
well, we have about 40 minutes left, so prepare yourself because I ask very, very out of the box, to use your phrase, out of the box questions. I don't want to just be another podcast where everybody wants to talk about their highlights. It's like I want to talk about you, like you as a person. Like you mentioned, just figure it out, right? And I think that's awesome because that's how I drive my life. Like when I have obstacles, all right, how can I get through this? And so many people they'll hit adversity and they'll immediately do a U-turn. Like so, I grew up like my father was an engineer, and we just watched him so many times make something out of nothing, and we're just looking at him like, what is he doing out there? And then you give it a week, 2 weeks, and he has his finished product. So like we grew up watching that, and that's how I developed it for myself. So were there any life lessons from your childhood, from either parent or grandparent, something that you picked up that you still adhere to today?
Well, I'll tell you what. So my dad, my mother, and my father are both first. They're born in. So my dad was born in Italy. My mother was born in South America, and they actually met at English school in the Bronx. Believe it or not.
Really?
And but I'll tell you what. We grew up. We all lived in. My family, which is my brothers and my sisters. We lived with my cousins. We all lived in one house, kind of thing. That back in the day, and I remember when I think my dad died. And whenever I talk to my dad, I talk about my dad, like you're gonna like kind of get teary eyed because
yeah,
he died like 3 lifetimes ago. It was like so long ago. It's like the odd part is I'm becoming the age of when he passed away. Not that I'm afraid of passing away, but I never saw my dad as an old man. So as I get older, I'm starting to resemble him more and more because I'm kind of catching up to when he. But I'll tell you what, when he didn't, it's like he was the hardest working dude. Like I think I'm hardworking. Like he was the hardest working man. Well, I remember we used to go out there and we were building this, and these are those lessons. Like we were building a deck, and yeah, we literally, I dug the holes with a screwdriver and a hammer, and that was kind of, my dad's just like, yeah, that's how we're gonna do it, and like scooping my hand inside there, and I think I was 7 years old. And, it was that. Now that is something that's kind of kept with me because like he really was such a hardworking man. And, I don't think I'd even be remotely, close, but, to the person I am, but, he was like, it's too bad he can't see me now because like I've been doing this for 23 years and he's been gone even before that. And this whole obstacle course, like, we used to laugh because I'm kind of like my dad. My dad, unlike your dad's an engineer, so everything was like exactly square, right? Just like that, right? So my dad just tried hard, really. He just really tried hard, with his Italian accent. And it's just a joke. Everything looks straight from 7 feet away. And so, and that's the same thing with me. You go to my obstacle course, it's like not 7 feet, but it's just like, I have no earthly business being out there putting a zip line together. I don't know how to do that stuff, but we just figure it out. And that's kind of the stuff that my dad's always it's just like, he was really, it's that Italian mentality that a lot of people, whether it's Italian or that whole old school mentality. So between him and my mother, kind of whatever that word is that describes me, it just literally just came from them because they were just my mom's still alive, but my dad, he's gone so long ago. It's too bad he never got a chance to see all this. But I just know, he raised me he raised me exactly the person you see me today, the guy in the pepper suit, the guy that's giving stuff out to kids, the guy that's trying to be just whoever, just that, that person out in life, the guy, it's all that. And that obstacle course and then, getting in that accident that really what brought me here is like, it's just like, it's just like, you just like, there's nothing like, sitting in your bed when your arm is just completely mangled and just like living with your own thoughts, and you're just like, what in the world? It's just like, you just think, it's just like, is this going to be me for the rest of my life? And then,
so before we get there, right? I don't want to get there yet. Yeah. So you said you've been doing that for 23 years. How did you get into that?
So I actually, so my brother was in the business for quite a long time, and he worked for the previous owner. And at the time, I was actually I worked for an air freight company. I was more of a kind of a sales guy. I was trying to find my way around stuff, and when the owner decided to retire, my brother had said to me, "Hey, do you want to do this together?" And so I, said yeah, and it was a big decision, but it was 23 years late, 23 years ago, and I got to tell you, it was now that's hard, starting, getting into business yourself, and that's yeah, that's also that's a whole nother story. I mean, that's hard, try. So yeah, actually, the first 10, 12 years were a super struggle, but then if you just stick with whatever it is, it just happens. If you work hard, like I've never seen a hard worker not succeed. It's like it doesn't even happen. Like it's like you'll never show me a guy or a woman that's not that is not successful in a sense if they're working hard at something. So that's how I got into it. It was the previous owner was retiring.
Yeah, so let me just add one other thing to that sentence is like people that work hard on the right things, because there are people who work hard on the wrong things and they end up stuck on the hamster wheel. But definitely if you work hard on the right things, absolutely. So you said it was hard. So you're working a job, you're getting a steady paycheck, and your brother says, "Hey, let's go into this together." So somewhere in the middle, there had to be a decision-making period. So when were you firm in your conviction that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, it's always, I'm no different than anybody else, but just caught me at the right moment is when you're working for somebody that you're just not happy to work for. So I think the stars were aligned that I was working for a place that I just wasn't happy at. So it's one of those things. And I've always been somebody to take a chance. Maybe that goes back to that initial thing is, I have no problems taking a chance on something. So I'm just like, hey, let's give it a try. I mean, I don't take it that lightly going into it, but it was that perfect timing of not liking my job and this coming up. And so I said, let's give it a shot. What could possibly happen when you work with your family, right?
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again. But you said take a chance. Like you're not afraid to take a chance. And I just want to expand on that because so many people are not risk takers, but they feel like they're unstuck. And I mean, like they're stuck in their everyday life. And the only way to get unstuck is you have to take a chance. And I always tell people the worst that'll happen is you return to where you currently are. Right, that's the worst thing that's gonna happen. Like you got to just take that risk. Like when I wrote the book. Now it took me 3 years to write it. 3 years, just because I'm a better speaker than I am a writer. And finally, I got the bright idea. All right, why don't I just speak the chapters? And now with artificial intelligence, it can transcribe the video in a matter of like under a minute. And so I was like, all right, let's do it that way. Going back to what you said earlier, figure it out. Because I would sit at my laptop and I would try to type and I would just keep getting stuck. But you could ask me any topic, and if it's in my wheelhouse, I can give you a speech on it right now. But just writing it, I just didn't have it. So I want to go back to what you were saying about Obstacle Wonderland. How it's like you're not qualified to get out there and build a zip line, but you figure it out. So how did you figure that
out? Which part, which what's funny is I got to say is I think maybe you can kind of understand what I'm saying is that when you take a chance on something and listen, the first I would say when we started this business together, the first 10 years it was a struggle. It was a real struggle, but it was a chance. But when things start working and next thing you know, that chance worked out, and then you dip your toe into something else. That chance worked out. That chance, and then after a while, it's almost like, yeah, I could do this. It's like, I mean, I could do this. I mean, like I got, it's like it's almost like there's nothing. You almost think like, I don't know. Not that I have a mentality that there's nothing I can't do, but when you go out there, when you take like a raw field, and again, I give a lot of credit to Clay at that time we talked about this, but when it's just like you put a wall up and then you do this and then you do that, and next thing you know, I literally sent for that zip line a piece of paper, like, and it had a little stick figure guy on with a line, and I said to him, I said to my friend Phil, I said, hey, what do you think about this? And it was just like a little, like a 4-year-old did it, like this and that line and this, and he goes, you're crazy. Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I just started putting it together, and my friend Jeff, who lived down the road, we started. I mean, it's too bad we didn't have like a blooper reel, but I wiped out 1,000,000 times. I should have hurt myself 1,000,000 times, but it's that exact thing. It's like you gotta, not everything's going to work out. You got to just keep going. And that zip line is probably the best indication of that whole resiliency, or that whole just kind of figuring it out, because man, there were times where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna figure this thing out. I'm gonna get it. Now I'm gonna get it. Mm-hmm. And it's just like kept doing, do. And then for the Halloween race, when I first did it, and to see, and when I tell you, like, you talk about reading, trying to write stuff. You're better at you're better at that. I can't really read instructions. Like I can't, like I need pictures. Like I can't read a book. It's just impossible. I need pictures. So there's like, it's like I have no experience building that. Zero, none. But I just watched videos and just kept watching videos and seeing there's usually 4 or 5 people that are saying the same thing. And it's like, okay, I'll grab that. And the next thing you know, it's like, okay, so why am I wiping out this time? Why am I whooping? And then next thing you know, you got 250 people going on that zip line, and I have a smile on my face the whole time. I'm like, yeah. But I gotta tell you, you want to talk about a risk? You want to talk about taking a risk? How about like standing there and there's 150 people, and if that rig comes down or something, yeah, I mean, think about that. You want to talk about risk? But you know what? I'm like everything over there, and just like almost everything I do too, is I'm 1,000% confident with it. Like, yeah, I know I did it. I put sandbags on my back and went down that zip line. Like I did, like I went because I wanted to make 1,000% sure. And I hurt myself a few times, but I was determined to get that thing to work. And now it's great. And but I think that goes a lot with a lot of the things now. It's like even that 3D printing I started, it kind of seemed like I have no problem. I just recently bought 3 picnic tables for the field with the money that I've sold my 3D things to for the field. And it's just like, it's like, I don't want handouts. I want to earn that money. And if I have to do it doing something like this, I'd rather do that than just say, hey, can you send me a donation, or can you help out, or raise prices? I don't want to raise prices. How about I just go do something else to raise the money? And I involve the kids in it too. So it's like, and I try to instill on those kids, hey, it's just a matter of working hard. It's like, you just got to work hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. So people who watch this show, I talk about vision a lot. It was in my intro video about the clarity of vision, right? Because people always say you got to set a goal, you got to find your why. And I don't disagree with those two things, but vision is stronger, right? And for example, a year and a half before I opened up my own gym, a year and a half prior, I sketch, and I say sketch loosely because art is not my thing, but I sketched down on paper what my dream gym, what I wanted it to look like. Like I wanted it to have like a smaller intake room, and then have it open up into a bigger room where we could do obstacle course training, boot camp style training, things of that nature. And so as myself and my former business partners, we were going around looking at buildings, and like I would walk in and I'd be like, nah, that's not the one. No, that's not the one. Now finally we walked into an old warehouse for Perform Better. And right, we walk in and the place was a dump. It was an absolute dump. But the layout fit almost to the T what I sketched on that piece of paper. And I looked at my partners and I said, this is the one. And they both looked at me like I had 5 heads. They're like, this place? I'm like, yeah. And I started explaining to them what I had written out. I'm like, this can be the intake room. That can be the office. I'm like, we go in here. This will be the main room. We can put rubber here. We can put turf here. Like, and they just saw how excited I got because it matched my vision. So when it comes to Obstacle Wonderland, what is your vision for that?
Well, I'm going to tell you I'm going to say something about yours. That's where, making chicken soup out of chicken poop, right? So you kind of see through that stuff. And that's next thing you know, you have something like that. The vision of Obstacle Wonderland is, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it. Right. I don't know, because I want to, I can't do that forever. It's a lot of work. And but right now I have such a good kids program that I think the vision is really going to be for that. And the obstacle course itself, I really think like maybe next year might going to be my last year doing something like that. Because again, it's just a lot of work. And, I just recently broke up with my girlfriend not too long ago, which is,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. It is. So when you asked me about myself in the beginning, it's just like, man, it's like, there's so many things. And so it's sad. It really is sad. And it's not this, it's kind of, so things have changed. And, I'm getting older too. And again, that's the work involved in that is pretty extensive. So I'd say the vision really is probably going to be mostly just to keep the kids program going, because the impact that we've had just this year alone with the kids is it's just unbelievable. So, and that's a whole nother story, but I would say really the vision is to just keep fostering those kids and being able to have a place where they can come that's fun and safe and cost effective. I live in a very big community of homeschoolers, and homeschoolers, it's a lot of things based on money. It's cost. And so I don't want to raise price. And this is why I do that 3D printing, or I do this, or I do that, is because no, I don't want to charge more, because I'd rather that kid come out here. Like, you ever see a kid just going down a zip line? He's never done it before. It's like all of a sudden it's just like, or he crawls through a tube, and it's like, we take that for advantage. And it's just like, because guys like me and you, we used to climb fences all the time when we were kids. We knew how to do that stuff. They don't, and they're like, I'm going to tell you, the other day there was a homeschool group of about 30 kids, and I was and Angela, who's done great, she had them up on the field, and there's some parents too, and they come for like 2 hours. And I was walking up to the field, and I'll tell you what, I had to stop, and I took a picture, because, when you talk about vision, it's just like, if you were to see through my eyes, right, what I was looking at, I guess you can, it's like that picture, I don't know if there's words that are invented that can describe that, because it's I'm walking up there. Nobody knows who I am. I'm not, they just know they're coming here. They don't know I'm, and that's even the better part, is just to see these kids are just like running around, just like climbing, jumping. And it's just like, it was such a surreal feeling. So when you talk about what's your vision, it's like, yeah, that's it right there. It's already there. You know, it's like there. And if it stops tomorrow, it's okay because it was already there. Like, you know, it's like how much better can you get than that? Like, and so that's, you know, I'd say that's the part right there. And, you know, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's I'd say it's about as best as I can kind of describe it.
Yeah, see, along those lines, when we opened the gym, so this was before we opened, because we kind of fell on some zoning issue. Like we built the gym before we probably could have just opened, and nobody would have known for probably 5-6 years that we were open. But we're like, no, let's do this the right way. Let's go down the zoning and apply for all that. Then it ended up delaying our opening like 4 months to go to a hearing that took 3 minutes for them to approve it, right? But anyway, so the gym is brand new now, brand new, and it was coming up on my daughter's birthday. So this was her birthday is February 11th, and it had snowed like almost every single day. So like we're trying to find a place to have her birthday party. So finally, my now ex is like, why don't we just do it at the gym? And at first I was like, oh hell no! I'm like, we just dumped tens of thousands of dollars, you know, to build this gym. So I'm not gonna be scraping, you know, frosting off the floor. And then it kept snowing and kept snowing and kept snowing. So finally I gave in. I was like, all right, we'll do it at the gym. Like, but I want to tarp down under the tables, you know, and catch crumbs and all that. When I tell you, these kids had an absolute blast. Like we set up an obstacle course. Like I had a traverse wall. I had monkey bars. I had we had 2 5-foot walls, you know, Atlas balls and all that stuff. And I just set up this big circuit for the kids, and like we were like they were crying when it was time to leave. You know, to your point, it's like that was such an amazing feeling. So I was like, all right, my twins' birthday was 6 or 7 weeks later. So I was like, you know what? Let's do theirs there too. And so we did theirs there, and same thing. You know, we had like 30, 40 kids there, and they had a blast. But now parents were asking about the gym programs. And then from there, a kids class was born. And then we started giving our current members, if they joined the all-in package, we started giving them a free kids birthday party. Because what comes with kids? Parents. So it was a genius idea in using those birthday parties, which what I initially said no. And then that turned into something that brought us probably well over 100 clients just from following through on an idea, you know. So
thinking outside the box, point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yep, thinking outside the box. So, all right, so we're gonna get into your injury. What were you doing prior to your injury?
As in working?
Yes.
Well, it happened here at work.
No, I know. It's like, what were you doing in the moments leading up to it?
Oh, okay. So it's so it was 2016, right? And it was 2 days before Memorial Day weekend. And and you know, unlike, I don't know why, but unlike lately, it was actually hot back then, where Memorial Day weekends now are just 40 degrees.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is the boating industry, and it was just, when I tell you, it was complete chaos because it was the forecast for a beautiful weekend, and so I live, we're located here like alongside the Hudson River, and there's, you know, this time of the year, there's a lot of folks that are coming from Florida, and they go through the Hudson up to through the locks, and then they go around through the Great Lakes, right? And that's how they get home. A lot of them are living in Florida, and they're kind of going. So there was this one gentleman that ran his boat aground, and I'll never forget his name, but I'll leave it out. And he was just it was the hecticness that was going on, and it was just that right there, and so I was on a lathe. I don't know if you know what a lathe is. It's a big.
I don't.
It's a giant machine about this big, and it spins, right? And we have there's a shaft inside of it, and so I was working on that, and if you know, your viewers, anybody who knows any kind of machining knows of a lathe, and So I was on the lathe and I was doing it like I've done for years and years and years. And boy, I'll tell you what, I just looked away for a second and I was machining it, and you look away for a second. I looked away for a second, and all of a sudden, this thing is just, it's almost like a shark just eating you. It's just like it's just pulling me in. And I remember on a lathe, there's it's called a brake. It's a stop. It's a brake, and I was working with my foot on it. And I'll tell you what, this thing happened so fast, it pulled me right off of it. And when I tell you, like, I was inside, I was in waist deep, and
wow.
Yeah, and boy, that was just like, I couldn't, it's almost like it's almost like I cannot believe this is happening right now. And when I tell you, that thing just ate me, and I didn't remember, I lost like about 3 minutes of it, and next thing you know, I was getting pulled out of the machine. And that's where all the fun started.
Oh my Lord.
But
Okay.
That's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, so they pulled you out of the machine. Like, could you even think? Like, what were your thoughts as to what just happened?
So the first thing I did was I knew instinctively something was up with my arm and my hand. So first thing I did was, when I stood up, I reached over for this towel and I just wrapped my arm up because I didn't want to see it, because I knew if I saw it, it would kind of even throw me in. It would be a little bit worse. Yes. But no, I got to tell you, I'm pretty good under pressure. And I mean, it's like you just figure stuff out. And it's just like, I just wrapped it up really quick. And I just said, just go get the car. And somebody was just I said, one of my employees, I said, just hold me here a second. So just hold me up so I didn't fall. And so, I don't live too far from the hospital. We don't work too far from the local hospital. And I knew that there was going to be a time where I saw the blood coming out of the towel. And I knew there was going to be a time where, like, something was going to happen, like pass out, the pain, like, that adrenaline is there, but then it's all just going to kind of just whack me. So I just said, we just got to get to the hospital before it really kind of comes down. And man, I'll tell you, he raced to the hospital. He got me inside, and I'll tell you, it was like a freight train, just like, I can't even describe. It's just like, just pounded me right in the, like, it was unbelievable. Like I don't know, I'll send you pictures one day. My hand was almost cut off. It's over here, and like it's just I was pulled right inside, my whole back and everything. And then all of a sudden, It just hits you like a wave.
I don't need to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, it's remarkable. It's just it was unbelievable. And I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but it was just I don't know how deep you want to get into it, but I will say this. This story is so good that I would do it all over again. I would not hesitate to relive that whole thing, because that was the most I don't know where you want to go, but I'm going to tell you, like, there were like 3 months I remember laying in bed and just like contemplating just having my arm cut off and having to, like, and I lived by myself at the time too. When you get stuck, when you're alone with your thoughts like that, and you're just in my hand, the doctors over here locally were just, it's the local doctors. And that was probably one of my mistakes, is staying up here for so long. But, the pain was just, I'm a 2nd degree black belt. I was, not now, older now, but back, when I was in my mid-20s, I was, so I knew what it was like to take punches and kicks and experience pain. But I'm going to tell you, there was nothing like that. And I'll even tell you one thing better that I have no problem admitting, like, and I go back to, just to press upon to you, is like how rough it was, I used to go into the doctor, and I sit there, and they used to triple book people. It would drive me nuts.
Oh yeah.
And when I tell you, there were times I'd be sitting out in that waiting room and I'd start crying because that was painful. And it was pain. And here, it's just like, and it was more painful not knowing what was going on. And it was unbelievable. It was the experience. But I would do it all over again because in the end, I found this doctor. His name is Dr. Wolf, down at the hospital for special surgery.
Yeah. Take your time.
That dude, yeah, I know I would have been okay regardless. Like, I know, like, I remember laying in my bed and just, okay, so I'm going to get a prosthetic and I'm just going to, and I'll figure, I'll learn how to deal, I'll learn how to live with it. I can do that. And, and then I remember sitting in a hyperbaric chamber. You ever been in a hyperbaric chamber? Hyperbaric, those tubes, those in there, type A personality in a hyperbaric chamber for an hour. Oh,
wow.
In pain. It was like, yeah, it was just like, it's like I say to myself, I'm like, how can you guys do this to me? And it's like, how, like, who, like, you have no answers. It's just like, what am I doing here? And I'll tell you, that doctor in New York City, oh, man, you know what I think it was? His dad was a lumber salesman, and he was just an average guy who got his son through school. And I think when I walked in, and at the time, I work in a machine shop. Like, this is me. I don't, I'm not, it's me. I don't dress in a tie or anything like, it's like me with like dirty hands all the time. And I think when he realized that I got such terrible treatment up here and that my arm was ready to come off, that I really think that, and he said to me, he goes, what? I said, I just need to get back to work. And everything revolves around work. Cause when you own your own business, there's people that are relying on you. You just can't call in sick for 9 months, this, you just can't not show up. And I'll tell you what, that man, I had 9 surgeries. This whole arm is stem cell rebuilt. Like, there's papers written about me down there. Anytime I had a surgery and I used to go, they do everything right there. They're like, when they see, I have stitches, like every time I had surgery, stitches right down my arm there. And they'd say, wow, what happened to you? I said, well, I got pulled into a machine. They would say, that's you? Everybody in that hospital knew who I was.
Wow.
Because they didn't know what to do with me, because they didn't know how to fix my arm. So they would have these things, and people would listen in, because that's how these guys learn. And I'll tell you, yeah.
What was the initial prognosis? I think that's the right word.
My arm was coming off.
And how did you deal with that at the time reality?
So they didn't tell me because I was so they didn't tell me because I went through like 2 surgeries back to back, one to put my hand back on, and then the other one to kind of figure this. And I don't know if you know what compartment syndrome is.
Yes.
Right. So I had compartment syndrome, and they're like, listen, if it doesn't get better in about another day, but it went from your arm's coming off, because they would talk to my sister and my girlfriend at the time, to, hey, maybe his hand's going to be stuck like this. Like, there's a term for something like this when you see people's fingers like, oh, yeah. So it progressively, as the hours went by, or the days, it kind of at least got that compartment syndrome out. And so it's like, okay, but you'll probably never use your arm again, like functionally. And plus my arm was broken here too. So, they said,
wow.
That, but yeah, it was,
See, and so I asked that because like you heard in my intro video, I had a bad knee injury, and I was told I was never going to run or jump again. And initially the emotions hit me just like it did with you. You know, I looked up at Kelly and I had tears in my eyes. She was crying. I was like, I have 5 kids and they were 10, 7, 2, and I had twins who were 4 months old at the time. So being told I'm not going to be able to run around with my kids, I'm like, that's crazy. Now it was crazy. I had just got into the fitness business several months prior. So I'm like, I need my body. And then competitor Rob showed up again. And he was like, no. Like, the body heals. The doctors don't heal. That's what people have to realize. And again, I always put out the disclaimer. I'm not telling people not to listen to your doctor. But the body heals. And the brain controls the body. So I just kept speaking in absolutes. When I walk again, when I run again, when I jump again, you know, and I found obstacle racing right as my knee was getting back to strength. And I found those OCR. So that was, like, I was supposed to just do one just so I could check it off the list. But I liked it so much. I did another one, you know, and then another one. And now I can't stop doing them. Mm-hmm. But to your point from earlier, you just figure it out. Like, what I love about being on the course, especially in the longer ones, on the mountain ones, is everybody around you is on the same mission. You see people limping, you see people with cuts and scrapes, people ripping up their Achilles on the Tyrolean Traverse, and they're still out there. People slip and fall, they hurt their arm, and they keep moving. It's like, for people to DNF, 9 times out of 10, they have to get dragged off of that course. And I love that environment. I love the camaraderie, you know, but it stems from that thing that's within, you know. So I want to add. Go ahead. Then
I want to tell you one thing on that. You know what's so funny about that? You say, and I totally understand that. So I've never been an athlete at all, and it was only a few years ago, you know, probably like around 2019 or 20, that I kind of dip a toe into Spartan. And I have to tell you, I'm around you guys all the time. Everything all the time. And I have to say, I totally know what it's guys like you that you go out there and they got to pull you off. But for me, it's not that I don't have any interest. It's just like, yeah, I kind of went through something 900,000 times more mentally tough than that. It's like,
yeah,
okay, so the Spartan is great and it's probably more physical for me, but there's nothing in there that's going to really, you know how you say the competitor in you and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So there's like, it's great. I'm sure. And I encourage people, I'd rather go watch. Like, when I was dating my girlfriend, I used to go watch her. It's like, I'd rather just watch you, because I don't have that burning desire to go out there and prove myself. It's like, like I got pulled into a machine. Like I went through mental stuff that it's almost like, I hate to call it my cancer, but it's like, it's kind of like going through that. It's just like, so I envy guys like that. And I wish I had that. But on the other side, I would never, ever give up that experience, which is 9,000 deep than what we just talked. I would never give that up. I remember looking at the anesthesiologist. I was so scared the first time I was down in the city. And I actually told him, I said, hey, man, don't let me die, all right? Because I was like, you know, even guys like you and me, we get scared, you know, we're men, we're men. It doesn't mean that we don't get scared or afraid, you know, but, you know, we got, especially in moments of, you know, that challenge you, but it's, you know, you got to just be a man about it. And, you know, I was, but it doesn't mean that we don't get scared. And stuff like that makes you even 100 times stronger when you're scared, and you kind of, and you know that, you know, you could just kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, but you just kind of, you do it. And it's just like, it's just, you never, ever, 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 never, nothing would ever, I would do it all again in a minute. And those are the things that I try to reflect to people on, but you really, it's hard to, but See, you try to press upon to them.
See, I'm glad you circled back to that, because I was gonna go back to that, because someone asked me before too. They're like, do you wish that never happened? And I said, absolutely not. I said, because going through that journey to defy those odds is one of the strongest parts of my story. Like, it's not. I tell people it's not about what happened. Yes, you got sucked into a machine, but what happened? That's not the story. The story is, how did you bounce back from that? Right? That's where the power, and like it says above us, your true power lies in your story. It's like that. Like, that's why I asked you initially when it happened. Like, what were your thoughts? Like, what were you doing prior? To build that whole story. And then, you guys are holding you up. You're wrapping your arm up, thinking that you might lose an arm and have to live with a prosthetic. And to overcome all of that, and now you run obstacle races, you know what I mean? Where for a minute there, you thought you were going to have a prosthetic for an arm. It's like, that is absolutely phenomenal. And how did you keep it together? I know we're a little over time, but how did you keep it together during the rehab process?
Here's the crazy part is I knew I was going to get better. I just knew. Remember how you said it's the mind that heals? That's what my doctor said. My surgeon, Dr. Wolf, said, hey, listen, you're doing all the hard work. I just put you back together. I did, but you're 1000% right, because it is the mind. And I knew, I used to go to rehab. I used to go to physical therapy, and, I was in there. Meanwhile, I was putting stuff like doing, my arm was just like, it looked like an alien arm. It's just like, it was so disfigured at the time. And then meanwhile, and I'm in a room with other people who have a little thumb problem. And so they almost looked at like, they were almost embarrassed to be there while watching me just kind of, and I'm like, it's just like, and you could just like, I can feel myself just saying, I am going to do this no matter what. I used to, and then I'm going to tell you, 1 year later is when they took the rod out of my arm, because my arm wouldn't go further. They're like, we can't even deal with that until your arm is fixed. They said, what they said? You're probably never going to reach behind your back again, right? But what did I do, right? I would come into work, I would take a rope right here, and I used to go, right? And hold it. Because I just knew. And I don't even know how, because when those first couple months, when your mind is just, that whole thing I told you about in my room, and just contemplating and just, and then once you get like this, once you catch your wind, man, it's just like, you could just go, and you're 1000% right to say that it's your mind. It's your mind. Your mind will do it. And
I love what you just said there. When they said that, you'll never be able to reach behind again. I absolutely despise when people speak in negative absolutes. Like doctor telling me I'd never run a jump again. I'm like, we haven't even had the surgery yet. You know what I mean? It's like my kneecap is still on the side of my leg. So it's like, how are you gonna make that diagnosis? You don't know how my body's gonna heal. It's like, you don't know how willing I am to do beyond what physical therapy prescribes. Because let me tell you, when that knee separated, 2 of my 4 quads went completely dead. I had complete atrophy. And the doctor was like, they may or may not fire again. I said, oh, they're firing again. They are firing again. And I had to have electric stim. They said to do it minimum 3 hours a day. I had that baby on all day long, just looking at my leg. 5 solid months it took before I could finally contract the muscle on my own. But I just kept looking at it and just tried to do it. 5 solid months. The problem,
look at it. Yeah.
Right. Yep. The problem with people today is when adversity comes, they quit, or somebody tells them something and they just believe it. And that's one of the worst things that you can do. Like, if I just listened to that doctor who told me I wouldn't run a jump again, guess what? I probably wouldn't have. Because I wouldn't have put forth the effort to make sure I made the full recovery. Because people say, I'll give you a quick example. I'm doing personal training with an older gentleman. He's probably in his 70s. And he had double shoulder replacement, you know, like I think it was like a year apart or something. He's like, yeah, he's like, I can't lift my arms above this. Okay, I said, rule number one, don't tell me what you can't do. Okay, I'm not interested in what you can't do. Like, we're gonna find your range of motion and we're gonna work on it. Because I said, how often do you try to reach over your head? He's like, oh, never. I said, that's why you can't do it. You know, so it's been probably 6 months now. Now he's not at full extension, but he's to like here, I'd say now, because every day we're working it. It's like, you know, you don't try to go from here to there in one day, like you end up hurting something. But we started going up and more every single day, well, not every day, but every training session that he's in there. And we work at it, and now his range of motion is getting so much better in so many different directions. Because like people just like to your point from earlier, figure it out, right? Figure it out. All right. It's like when I had my shoulder surgery, you know, again, they told me do not move it for 6 weeks, and I told them straight up that's not happening. I said I will find my threshold and I will stay below my threshold. And on my first follow-up appointment, I had full range of motion. And the doctor was like, wow, they're like, we don't ever see that. I said, yeah, because I didn't listen to you guys. It's like, if it was up to you, then yeah, I would only be here. Go ahead.
And you know what, and you know, that's the thing, is when you get guys like us, it's just like, yeah, that's not gonna, you know, my surgeon down at the hospital, special surgery, he had all the confidence in me. He says, you'll be all right. But it's going to be up to you how all right you are. And I wanted to do it for him because like, I felt like I owed, like I to this day, I still send him pictures. I still, when I did my Spartan races, whenever I do things like that, I always send him a picture. I don't do stuff. I don't really act, but you know, I'll still send him a picture of me on my Harley or something like that. If I'm out right, just something, just say to him, yeah, man, you believed me, you did it. You did it. And I'm going to show you that I did it too. And, and guys like him, he appreciates that. And then when you get guys like me and you who go through this, not that I'm a huge, I just try to stay, fit, cause I'm 54, I think, or something. So I like to stay fit and I'm not that I'm bench pressing, but I can lift 200 pounds on a bench. On this thing, it's completely rebuilt. It's amazing. That's awesome. It's just like, how is this thing still together? So, but you try to, and I tore my my rotator cuff, and it was super painful. And they said, well, you might have to need surgery. And I'm like, well, I'll do the exercises from home. And just like you, I'll tell you what, I said, okay, so we're going to fix this. And you know what? I went back, we kept going like every 3 months, and I'm like, yeah, it's getting better. It's getting better. And you know what? It doesn't bother me at all, because it really, when my arms started getting better, I could just feel the electricity going through, because what you said before is the body will rebuild itself. It's unbelievable. And I literally could just feel like, pew, pew, pew. It's like fireworks going off in your arm, because all of a sudden you're inert, right? Because you give the body a reason to start fixing itself. That's how you build muscle, right? Give the body a reason to build muscle. We'll make it want to build muscle. We'll give your body a reason to kind of want to close your hand. And it's just like, then what does it require? It's that. So it'll just kind of just build it on itself. And it is remarkable. And these are the exact reasons why I would do this whole entire thing again from start to finish, because it really was unbelievable. I'm like, I feel like, if you think how lucky I am, think how lucky I am.
Yeah.
Like, not only that I survived that, but when I was 41, I smoked. I had 2 stents. I should have died back then. And I got another chance, and I got pulled into a machine and got, who knows? Sometimes I think I'm actually dead right now, because it's like, how did I survive that? And this whole thing is just like a parallel thing. And then to have an obstacle course, and then to be able to influence all these kids and even adults. Like, even during the time when I first opened up, during the whole COVID time, and we used to have events, you know, people would come and they're tears in their eyes because they have a place to exercise, because sometimes their mindset is based on that physical activity that they didn't get. But, you know, it's how lucky am I to have all that? How lucky am I? But I think it comes in taking chances and just kind of, it stems from my dad. It's just like digging those holes with that screwdriver. And it's just like, that's, try and get a kid to dig a hole with a screwdriver now. They look at you like you're crazy. They don't even know where the screwdriver is.
They wouldn't even do it with a shovel.
Yeah, but it's those things that guys like me and you kind of went through in that time. And it's just like, it's that hard. It's that going through your business for the first several years, and you're broke. You're broke. I don't have kids. You have 5 kids. I would do anything to have kids. Like I would trade, I don't know what I would trade, but I'm like, I look at those kids and I'm just like, man, I'm just like, that's the one thing I'm very sorry for, but that's the one thing I guess that's really that's kind of keeps me in touch with that whole feeling of that. And so how lucky am I to have all this? And I don't even know what to call it, but it's good though.
I do know what to call it. So this will be my last question for you. Then we'll break it down. So you said multiple times that you would go back and do it all over again. Is it because you can find gratitude that you got the full use of your arm back?
No.
Okay.
No, I went. I think it's more of the. Yeah. You know what? Getting my arm back is probably on the list, but it's the people that I met, good and bad. Do you know what it's like? You know what it's like to go hat in hand? Like I remember going to see Dr. Wolf the first time. I'm just like, I'm literally like, you have to help me. Like I'm begging him. And at the time I'm a 48-year-old man. And I'm saying, I'm literally there, like my arm, you know what it's like to be, do you know what it's like to be a victim? I'm not gonna say a victim, but we're men, right? So we're men. So, I'm injured, like, right? Men don't like to be, that it makes us very vulnerable.
Yes.
And to go there and be vulnerable for all these months. And it's just like, I got, it's just like it's just like that. Anyway, to go up there and just, you got to help me. You got to help me. When he helps.
Understood.
So even if anything, if I went through that whole thing and maybe my arm was this or that, I just know that man, if it wasn't for him, it would be gone. And so, yeah, it's great that I have my hand all back, but it's not, I wouldn't do the whole thing knowing that. It's just the experience, and the bad people too that you run into, the ones that don't care about you, the ones that just look at you and just like, well, you did this to yourself. And it's like, I got to pull them. So it's like, and then, so I really think it's because, and the stuff that you deal with in turn, like you living with this stuff like constantly, and the nurse and the nurses come and they got to take blood from you, and then you got, and then the surgeries and the vulnerability of the surgery. Here I'm a man, men, right? We go, what it's like that women got to come in, and you're just very vulnerable in a lot of those times. So yeah. It's that, but people don't understand like how it affects you. You're not just going in there to get, a toenail fixed. You're there to get, you're like, this is a deal, and you're hoping to get better. And so it's just that whole mental experience that I would never trade, because that just kind of, I don't know, lays the groundwork. Like, it's just like from here on in, it's just like, there's nothing I can't do. There's just nothing. I mean, like, tell me what I can't do. Like I might not be good at it, but I'll give it a shot, it's like, and it's you get that mindset of just like, and you can never convey that to someone as much as you try, because they'll never understand that full gravity of it. when you say, listen, I'm telling you, like, trust me when I say to you, you can do this. I mean, if I can do this, you can do this.
See, and that's what I meant when I said but having the gratitude for getting the use of your hand back. Like, that's where I was going with that. Because for me, defying the odds wasn't about racing obstacle races or getting back on the track meet. It was like life tried to tell me I couldn't do something, and I can do it. And to your point, I use this story a lot when people feel like they're stuck. I'm like, look, like, it took me almost 2 years to get full use of my leg back. 2 years. I said, you're just stuck in a moment. It's like, get through this moment, keep going through it, and then you'll get to where it is you want to be. Like I said earlier, people hit adversity and then they just hit a roadblock, or they think something's wrong with them. It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You just got to keep on going. Yeah. And once people realize that, they're going to find out that they're going to stress and worry a whole lot less. It's like, yeah, there are some days that are going to be fabulous. There's going to be other days, maybe you're just not feeling up to it. It's okay. You don't have to be 100% every single day. It's just something one of my mentors says. She's like, you don't have to be 100% every day. Just don't go below 51. You know, it's like, just want it a little bit more than you don't want it.
Yeah, you know? That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Because you don't want to completely fall off. But all right, let me throw it to you for some final words.
Man, you throw me some final words about. I got to say, my final words are, you know, I love telling this story. Like, I love it. Somebody says, hey, what about your arm? Oh, I can't wait to tell you about it. Between my obstacle course and my arm, I'm telling you, I have two of the greatest stories ever, and I love telling them. But I will say this, I don't think anybody's asked, so nobody's ever asked me questions like this before. And I find it, like, interesting, because now I can go home, and this is what I mean. I would never trade this moment, that whole experience, for nothing, because even now, years later, I get asked questions that I never thought about, that I would never think about if it wasn't for that. And so I think that's going to make me go back home and reflect and make me think a little bit more about myself, which I think will make me that much more better, if that's a term of, you know, just, it's more just another layer of seasoning as I get older. You know what I mean? So I would say some of these questions were just, they weren't hard, but they just no one's ever asked me that. Like, no one's ever.
I hear that. I hear that every single episode.
and how many times does it come from a person of a certain level? Like, I'm not saying I'm a level, but it's just like, sometimes the people you talk to, it's just like, well, who's going to ask them that question? Like, who's going to say that? Who's interested enough? Who is going to be interested enough to say something like that? And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I thought it's just like, I never heard this before, you know? So, but I would say is, this was great. Really made me think. And again, I love talking about my arm and my obstacle course. And yeah. It's great.
Well,
I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for taking the time. I have all of Gabe's contact information will be in the description section on no matter what platform you're tuning into. Those of you who watch live, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you soon. Have a good day, sir.
Thanks.
You've been listening to Shut Up and Grind. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Robert has over 20 years experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industry, as well as secondary schools and universities. He has a true passion for helping others break through the barriers that are holding them back. To book Robert B. Foster to speak or to reach out, go to robertbfoster.com. Till next time, shut up and grind.